America has thousands of historic buildings, but streets where nearly every home dates back centuries are extraordinarily rare. Many assume Amish communities preserve the oldest houses, but reality is far more surprising. Some of these 10 locations contain original colonial structures. Others keep centuries-old traditions alive through rebuilding. Each grows more remarkable, culminating in a settlement that never stopped being what it was. The countdown begins with a myth worth correcting. In the 10th place, the Hans Hare House corridor in Willow Street, Lancaster County, quietly upends a common misconception. The oldest confirmed home in Pennsylvania's Amish heartland is not Amish at all, but Mennonite, a sandstone house built in 1719 by Christian and Anna Hare, decades before the first Amish families arrived in the region. Its walls, quarried from local stone, have withstood 3 centuries of storms, revolution, and expansion. Stewardship by the Hare family lasted nearly 180 years, but it was the Lancaster Mennonite Historical Society that ultimately rescued the building from oblivion, restoring it as a museum and anchoring its legacy. The Hans Hare House stands as a testament not to Amish origins, but to the enduring presence of early European settlers. A reminder that beneath the surface of America's oldest rural communities, the real story is often stranger than legend. The search for genuine Amish-built history now moves deeper into the heartland. Number 9, Walnut Creek Road in Holmes County, Ohio, reveals a different kind of historical endurance. Here, it's not the extreme age of a single house that stands out, but the way the landscape itself has guarded the past. Rolling hills and thin soils kept industry and railroads at bay, allowing old farm patterns and rural buildings to remain in daily use across generations. The memory of Jonas White Stutzman, who arrived in 1809 and became a local legend for his all-white clothing and prophetic chair, anchors the road's story. On Walnut Creek Road, preservation happens not through formal protection, but through remoteness, a living continuity shaped by geography, where the rhythms of early Amish settlement still echo across the fields. 8th place belongs to Strasburg Borough Historic District, where time seems to gather along the narrow lanes and clustered rooftops. Unlike isolated farmhouses, Strasburg preserves a rare density of 18th and early 19th century buildings within a still active rural village. The streetscape tells a layered story. Pennsylvania German stonework, Mennonite and Amish craftsmanship, and traces of colonial hospitality, all documented and protected as a historic district since 1976. The rhythm of daily life here endures not through staged preservation, but because economic downturns and careful local ordinances shielded the borough from sweeping redevelopment. In Strasburg, the past is not a backdrop, but a living framework, quietly shaping every corner as the search for deeper roots continues. Number 7. Summit Mills in Somerset County, Pennsylvania, stands apart as a place where history is measured not just in years, but in the endurance of one family's story. Here, John Hochstetler's house, built around 1800 on the edge of the old frontier, remains a rare survivor. Its hand-hewn logs and plain, functional lines echoing the earliest days of Amish life in the region. Unlike the grand stone houses of Lancaster, this modest dwelling was shaped by necessity and faith, built by Hochstetler himself as his family rebuilt after the violence that shattered the first Amish settlements in Berks County. What sets Summit Mills apart is the unbroken chain of memory. Descendants of the original builders still live nearby, their daily routines shaped by the same rhythms: wood stove warmth, early morning chores, the hush of fields at dusk. While the house is younger than some Eastern relics, its emotional gravity is unmatched, anchoring the story of Somerset's Amish beginnings as the search for deeper roots continues. Number 6, Willow Street Pike, historic district in Lancaster County, marks a decisive shift in the story of historic survival. Here, the endurance of stone farmhouses and a centuries-old streetscape is no longer left to chance or the slow pace of rural life. Instead, the district stands as a rare example of a community choosing to defend its past. Local homeowners, backed by historic district protections and zoning review, have resisted the push for commercial expansion and intrusive modernization. The result is a corridor where 18th and 19th century houses remain lived in, not just preserved as museum pieces. Preservation here is active. Residents, planners, and organizations use every available tool to protect the district's scale and quiet character. In Willow Street Pike, history survives not as an accident, but as a deliberate act of community will, setting the stage for even deeper layers of living heritage ahead. Number 5, Old Philadelphia Pike between Bird in Hand and Intercourse, Pennsylvania, reveals a corridor where living history and myth collide. This stretch of road, first laid out in the early 1700s, once carried wagons and stagecoaches between colonial Philadelphia and the western frontier. Generations later, it would become the image stamped on postcards and travel brochures: rolling farmland, whitewashed barns, and the silhouettes of horse-drawn buggies against the sky. Yet the secret to its endurance lies not in its beauty, but in its purpose. The land has never stopped working. Farms along the pike have remained in continuous use, with stone homesteads and weathered outbuildings often dating back to the 18th century. Their survival owed to families who plowed the same fields across centuries. Covered bridges and roadside stands evoke nostalgia, but the real preservation force is agriculture itself. The relentless cycle of planting, harvest, and stewardship that kept developers at bay while the rest of America suburbanized. Before photographers arrived, travelers found shelter and sustenance here: inns, smithies, and market stalls woven into the road's fabric long before tourism. The corridor's story is not just about what was built, but about what was never allowed to vanish. As the road bends toward the next horizon, the search for deeper roots continues. Number 4, Bird in Hand, Pennsylvania, stands as a rare example of a village that never stopped fulfilling its original purpose. Along its main street, the daily rhythm of inns, family-run shops, and working farms echoes the settlement's earliest decades. Here, the name itself is a legacy, passed down through generations, rooted in a local story of two surveyors who, facing nightfall, chose the bird in hand over the two in the bush. While the tale survives as tradition, the enduring reality is more tangible. Homes, workshops, and businesses still operate as they did centuries ago, serving travelers, neighbors, and the local community. Preservation in Bird in Hand relies on stewardship from within, not directives from above. Residents maintain historic facades because the work inside continues, tying the village's survival to responsibility and purpose. The result is a living main street, more visibly commercial than quieter hamlets, but more continuously alive, a place where history is not staged, but lived. The search for deeper roots continues, as the road leads further into the heart of America's living past. Coming to the top 3, Walnut Creek, Ohio, stands as a rare stronghold where the past remains quietly indispensable. In the heart of Holmes County, the village center and its outlying farms present a landscape where modern distractions are almost invisible. Here, the arrangement of barns, fields, and homes follows patterns set down 2 centuries ago, not as a performance for outsiders, but because these rhythms still work. Farmsteads display original timber frames and weathered stonework, their continuity reinforced by generations who have never left. Tourism exists. Markets and craft shops draw visitors from far beyond the county lines. but it never overwhelms the daily routines of planting, milking, and family gatherings. The sense of preservation comes not from fences or plaques, but from utility. Traditions endure because they remain essential to work and faith. In Walnut Creek, the living past is visible at a glance, its endurance woven into every lane and furrow as the countdown presses deeper into America's oldest living heritage. In second place, East Main Street in Strasburg, Pennsylvania, compresses the weight of pre-revolutionary America into a single, remarkable corridor. Here, a sandstone house built in 1754 still stands, its original masonry visible in the weathered blocks that line the street. Just steps away, a brick residence from 1765 displays the careful craftsmanship of colonial-era builders, arched lintels and hand-formed bricks showing centuries of survival. The Spread Eagle Hotel, once a bustling stop for stagecoaches, anchored this stretch as a center of movement and news during the Revolutionary War. Militia gathered here, travelers found rest, and stories of the era linger in the very fabric of the buildings. East Main Street endured while much of its historic context faded, protected by a combination of local preservation efforts and the sheer density of its original architecture. The street's survival is no accident. It is a living archive where every stone and brick recalls a vanished world. Only one place surpasses it, not in age alone, but in the unbroken continuity of purpose that still shapes daily life. And finally, in first place, the Lancaster-Chester County's Old Order Amish settlement stands as the oldest continuously existing Amish community in North America, a living thread stretching back to the mid-18th century. Here, the extraordinary is not found in a single ancient house, but in the unbroken chain of families who have worked, worshipped, and rebuilt on the same land for over 260 years. The first Amish families arrived in the 1750s, settling among rolling fields that have been plowed by their descendants ever since. Farmsteads built in the late 1700s still serve as homes, barns, and workshops, not as relics, but as centers of daily life. Their thick stone walls and timber frames maintained, adapted, and handed down across generations. The secret to this settlement's endurance lies in the fusion of faith, discipline, and stewardship. A community ordnung that governs not just technology and dress, but the very way families relate to the land and each other. Unlike other historic districts, preservation here is not a matter of plaques or museum tours. It is a discipline lived out in the rhythm of chores, the passing of seasons, and the careful care of buildings that remain in use because they are needed, not merely admired. Even as modernity presses in, through tourism, development, and the lure of convenience, the settlement's core has resisted change, anchored by a collective memory that sees the land itself as a sacred trust. The result is a rare American landscape where the past is not staged but lived, and where the story of survival is written in the daily acts of faith and labor that continue to shape every field, lane, and farmhouse. In this place, the deepest preservation is not the survival of stone or wood, but the enduring purpose that holds a community together across centuries. Across all 10 towns, one truth stands out. Living history isn't measured only in untouched stone, but in the endurance of tradition and place. These communities prove that America's oldest stories survive not as relics, but as daily reality. The past breathes if we know where to look.